Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the series premiere of Mechanical Marie. Great series premiere. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So I went into this series knowing the premise because I watched a trailer, but I just didn't, he's the guy that doesn't trust anyone, and she's a martial artist who is pretending to be emotionless like a robot. But the big question I had was like, well, why are they respectively the way they are? Just to find out that Arthur is like this because he comes from a very wealthy family. He's the next in line to inherit everything. But the problem is he has half her step siblings and other family members who are all gunning to take him out for the purpose of them respectively getting the power and position and stuff like that. And so because growing up in an environment like that, because he's an illegitimate child, so many other people feel like he doesn't deserve it because who knows how long ago he popped up. Because we did see like this flashback from a younger Arthur who was standing beside his dad. So who knows how long he was in the picture. He definitely wasn't always in the picture. But it doesn't seem like it was more recently. It seemed like maybe it's a couple years, but maybe it's only fairly recently that he's been like set up to be the heir to inherit everything. And so growing up in an environment where you can't trust anybody, and maybe he was a little trusting from the beginning, but then to have that taken away, growing up in that environment, I mean, probably it's also like the cutthroat nature of it kind of plays into like probably how his father got to where he was too. So I'm sure it's kind of like this vicious cycle built upon this whole family empire to some degree. We don't know where, like, his mom must not be around anymore considering all that. And I'm sure like some of the mothers of, we met one sibling this episode that was like his older brother Maynard, but like who knows how many other siblings he has, how many different women. Well, it's probably more, well, I was about to say not women because like his mom was the other woman, so he seems to be the only other woman child in this situation. So like, but who knows if Maynard has any like full siblings that probably also hold some resentment, and Maynard's mom, and if he has siblings, their mom like might have resentment towards Arthur as well. But my whole point for going on a diatribe is like growing up in that environment, of course you're going to distrust people. You don't know who around you might betray you because enough money and promises could lead to someone getting close to you just to stab you in the back, or someone that has been close to you to stab you in the back. And that's ironically where we get to Marie. She's this martial arts prodigy, and the whole acting like a robot thing is actually kind of her default. Ever since she was young, she's always been very expressionless, which we even see is sad because like her mom even commented on, it's like, no matter if I scold you or praise you, your face never changes no matter what, which is so ironic considering her parents are the reason why she's also doing this, because she's getting like, she's paying off her family's debts by doing this job. And so she has trauma associated with always being treated like that by everyone who's come to know her and sees that she's expressionless, that she never changes her expression. That kind of has led people to treating her badly and stuff. So it's ironic that the person she's lying to and pretending to be this robot towards is the one person who accepts and wholeheartedly adores her being expressionless, saying that it's part of her charm. Because there's this complicated nature where it's just like, in his mind, you're a robot, and that means you're programmed to act a certain way and look after Arthur's best interests. So it's like, you're not going to be bought or paid off to like betray me, which ironically, she's bought and paid off to protect you, funny enough. But even, then that loyalty would be like still up the question because you could be bought off or paid off. It seems like the only person that's on the staff that knows the truth about Marie's circumstances is Roy, that we're aware of. I mean, at least from what we've seen, he seems to be the only one, because he says later on, if the truth ever comes out, both you and me are dead. But we don't know if like this could be something orchestrated by, in the long run, this could be orchestrated by Arthur's dad. But I'm like, why would he? But this could be some crazy rich like thing of like, oh, I'm trying to see if you can really succeed me. We haven't seen Arthur's dad, so we don't know which side of the angle he can be on. He could actually be like the big softy, actually a good guy, or we might find out he might be like ironically enough, not ironically enough, but like similarly to Arthur, maybe he kind of has like a numbed heart. Maybe it has something to do with Arthur's biological mom, and maybe that's like the one true love, the one that got away type of situation. So that's extra reason why he's bringing Arthur into the fold and making him the heir and stuff like that over like his other like full true. So like, you know, he might have a soft spot for Arthur because like maybe his mom being gone triggered something in him. You know, maybe it's like, oh, he was heartless for a while, but that heart inside of him, Grinch style, grew 3 sizes that day or something. You know, throwing a lot of speculation this early on in that direction, but it's not going to be an apt comparison, but there's 2 other series that came to mind when, you know, watching this episode play out the way it does. And like I said, they're not one-to-ones, but there's certain elements and parallels I think of. Because of the whole maid thing, it makes me think of like Hayate, the combat butler, because she is a martial artist and that's going to be her thing, like fighting off people and protecting him. I'm sure there's other stories too, but like it's a series like I have like very limited experience with. I read like the manga, like parts of the manga, and only like a small section of the manga, like years and years ago. Because if I remember correctly, like didn't Hayate's like parents sell him, and then like he gets bought by a rich family. He has to basically serve as a butler to protect like the heiress to the family, if I remember correctly. Like I said, it's been so long, I don't even remember half of, if anything, of what I read. But I believe that was the general premise of the story. But then like the other series this reminds me of is. She's Hopeless. Once again, not a one-to-one, but it's like this manhwa webtoon where this guy gets hired to protect his girl from a prestigious family, but you can't let her know that you were hired because she gets pissed anytime she finds out she has a bodyguard. There's a whole lengthy thing to it. I highly recommend you check out She's Hopeless. Great series. It's only 103 chapters. It's a webtoon manhwa. You can find it on the webtoon app. It's the easiest place to find it. But it's a great romance drama if you're interested. So, like I said, certain parallels in some regards, because like, hey, Marie can't let Arthur know that she, for one, she's human, but also that she was paid to protect, you know, so. And it's interesting too because obviously Arthur can be scary the way he just sent that maid away because he's like, hey, this clock exploded. You're the one that switched. And she's like, I'm sorry, I was ordered to. He's like, hey, get that guy that's over there on the other roof watching us. Turns out he was. Turned out the place was bugged. It's like, oh, Arthur is very like thorough and he's got, you know, good head on his shoulders, got good insight. But it's also probably like, well, it's probably born from like the many attempts. So it's like you get very like weary of your environment. You have to always be aware because betrayal and attacks could come from any angle. So you always have to be vigilant, which is kind of a sad way to kind of go through life, considering like, I think they're still high schoolers. I don't think he's a university. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like a high school he goes to. So it's like to be so young and kind of have to deal with that. But maybe he's actually older because he said at one point he's going to a university to like listen to some talks. So that's why I'm like, looking at school, it looks like it's like a private high school, but I can't quite tell because I'm like, it didn't look like a university. So I think he is a high school student. Maybe. And when some students bumped into Marie and point out her like expressionlessness and says like, oh, you're not really sorry, Marie was kind of like, right, I'm used to this. But then Arthur like shooed those guys away and made her feel better and embraced her like emotionlessness, which she's never had anyone in her life do that. So for her, it means a lot. But also it's like, she sees he can be scary, very mean. It's like, hey, this driver was less than a second late, but still you were late. You should show up on time. But also, he can be so sweet and so kind to her, holding her hand, later on asking like, yo, can I like lay in your lap? And he looks at that ring, and I'm wondering, is that like a family ring, specifically from his dad's, the like ZETES, I believe, the Zetas family, or I wonder is that some kind of like memento from his mom, like the one that's on like I forgot which, it's on one of his thumbs. It's like a ring and it's got like a small insignia in it. So I don't know if that's like the family crest or something, but because he was looking at it, he was talking about like I have to do this. I have to like work my way up to the top of this family. And I guess the question I guess then becomes like, well, why? Like, why do you feel, I guess because your father took you in, so you feel the need to repay that debt? Or for you, you're like, if I don't do this, I'll be left with nothing? I mean, for one, plenty of other people in this family are trying to kill me, so there's that. But also, it's like, if I can do this, I can kind of prove others wrong, and also me, because he doubts himself a lot because he feels like he is the bastard child in the family, so he feels like he doesn't deserve it. So he's trying to prove it to not only others who doubt him, but even himself, because he doubts himself a lot, you know? And for Marie, it kind of makes her realize, like, despite being from this family, he is just some ordinary normal boy. It's just he has very high exceptional issues, you know? I mean, he has family drama like anyone else, but there's a lot at stake and a lot at play here. And he's just a normal boy that just, you know, is so cut off from people because he has to be, because it's the only way he can survive, his circumstances being what they are. So then we had that situation where the driver pulled up early, which I was like, I think that's interesting. I was like, that's a different driver, and I was like, no comment on that. But then we see like, oh, the old driver pulls up, and by the time Roy's like, oh, we need to contact the police, Marie's already gone. She booked it, literally running after the car manages to catch up. Because I love it. It ties into that comment where he was laying on her legs. He's like, yes, you're tough as metal. Obviously, as a robot. She's like, yeah, sorry about that. It's actually just pure muscle on my legs. But yeah, she made it there because it turns out the person behind us obviously is Maynard. Apparently, this is like the 168th time he's done this, and he gives his whole speech of, haha, this will be your last day. It's like, yeah, we've been through this rigmarole time and time again, brother. You've given this speech. Which I skipped over a really good part earlier in the episode, too. Do forgive me circling back on this, but the whole back and forth where it's like, there's almost like that southern hospitality like approach where it's like, oh, you say something in a certain way and it looks like you're being like you're talking, not talking backwards, but it's like, you know, it's like, you know, when someone says like, oh, bless your heart, like what that really means is, you know, it's some catty like undertone like slick talk, you know. So for them to be kind of saying the stuff back and forth, and they're like shooting daggers at each other and talking shit. And I love that Roy, he's like, oh my god, their inner monologue. But then like Marie was completely oblivious to. She's like, wow, look at Arthur's smile. He must really love spending time around his brother. She's completely missing the entire subtext of the whole conversation. And I love that it's like, honestly, the subtext, what's really being said is what you hear the loudest amongst the dialogue, whereas like what they're feigning and pretending to say on the surface, it's lower. So it's funny that Roy's picking that up, but Marie's only hearing the lower, like, oh, what's on the surface level stuff. But either way, Marie caught up with the car, circling back to the present day, and ends up being on top of it. And they think they shook her off and she most likely broke into pieces. As we can see, Marie like pretty effortlessly lands gracefully on her legs and then like jettons herself, and she chases after them and eventually catches up. But the problem is Maynard's plan doesn't work because it turns out Arthur was recording it and it's on the cloud. So it's like, yeah, cool, something happens to me. This is going to go on social media and that's going to ruin everything. And because of that, he takes off and leaves it to the others to deal with. And before they could do anything, Marie comes in and kicks some ass. But sadly, like a cigarette touches some gasoline, and the place goes up in flames. And now Marie tries to get Arthur out. It's like the only exit now is this open window. But she's like, "You have to go. Don't stay with me." And she's like, "Well, he thinks I'm a robot. He doesn't want to leave me behind." So she's like, "I'm gonna be truthful to you. I'm gonna tell you how I feel without telling him like the truth about, hey, I'm actually a human." And she's like, "I really enjoyed being around you." So it's like, yeah, just let me stay here. You can come back in and rescue me after the everything's crumbled down, and from the rubble you can get me and reboot me, and I will service you again. And she's kind of sad because she's like, right, I did enjoy spending time with you, but here I am lying to you right up until the end. And as she passes out, she eventually wakes up in the bed. It's like, oh, good, you were rebooted and stuff like that. But, her smile and the genuineness that he felt from her, he's like, wait. For a second, he's like, I was wondering back there, and both her and Roy are worried, but he's like, no, never mind. He's like, for a second, she felt like a real human, but he's like, of course she wouldn't be, because he's like, here I am falling for a robot. He's like, how crazy is that? He's like, even if she was a human, it wouldn't matter. He's like, I'm incapable of falling for a human, which is so funny on twofold fronts, because it's like, well, you are falling for a robot, what you perceive to be a robot. But then it's like, you are actually falling for a human because she actually is a human. She's just a human that kind of perfectly represents herself unintentionally as a robot because of her expressionlessness. So yeah, some very, very interesting developments, and obviously she's going to be staying by his side, so it's going to be interesting to see the other crazy situations and shenanigans these two find themselves dealing with going forward. Quite the once again, always nice with the odd coupling and pairing of like the person who buries their emotions and only shows them to the person who doesn't really show her emotions. And so like that contrast is beautiful, and it's going to be interesting to see the delicate balancing act that Marie has to go through to hide that. That's going to be so fascinating to see. Very excited to see what the next episode has in store for us. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.